All right, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Building My Freedom Business podcast. My name is Eric, and today's guest is Treasa Edmond. Edmond, how do I pronounce it, Treasa, your surname?
It's Edmond, yes.
Edmond, okay. Because it's an O and it sounds like a U, Edmond. But
right.
And Treasa is someone who, she does so many things, but she helps like a ghostwriter, and she coaches people with writing. She does content. But we're going to go deep into that. You can find all her stuff at edmondwriting.com. But Treasa, before we go and take a deep dive, as you're going to introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners, I would love to know the story. I mean, you told me in the pre-chat that your own business, you've been doing it for 15 years at least. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what is your background story that had you end up doing this? Have you always been an entrepreneur?
No,
or did
but my parents were.
Your parents were, so you did definitely see that.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your background and how did you get up to start Edmond Writing?
Mine was one of those convoluted journeys where I did every job but writing after college until one day I just had enough. So everyone talks about a breaking point. I really had one. So I quit my job. I took a vacation to England and Ireland. And when I came back, I started working in editing. Okay. And then as I was editing for clients, they would ask me to write as well. And I just fell back into it and I love it. And then I started ghostwriting, which is my true passion. So through all of my different writing facets, I guess, I get to work with my clients to just help tell their story. And it's what I love to do. Wow.
So you started with editing, you said. Tell me, did you just found a paper an ad in the paper about editing, or was there something inside of you that wanted a job in that field?
You know, believe it or not, I was working at a theological seminary, and they had master's and doctoral programs, and I would help the students by just informally editing their master's thesis papers, and that transferred into a little editing business on the side. So I started on the side at first, and then I started editing PhD projects and dissertations, which is a big process and would take a lot of time. And from there, I decided that I could actually do that full time. So from working as an administrative person at a theological seminary, I transitioned into editing. And it seems like a really strange leap, but it was kind of natural, actually.
Okay. So, and you did that job do you remember for how many years you did this editing job?
I edited for about the first 5 years. Okay. And then I started writing. So I've been writing off and on for the last 20 years, but most of it was just smaller freelance stuff. Now I have my own business and I do the writing, ghostwriting, content writing, and writing coaching. And I love all of them. And I've done all of them consistently for the last 10 years.
Wow. I was just about to ask, if I would run into you at a party and I would ask you and say, Treasa, what is it that you do? I mean, you've said it a little bit, but tell me a little bit about what it is. How would you explain yourself, or what it is that you do, who you work with, and what you do?
I'm a wordsmith, and I work with leaders and influencers to help them tell their story to their audience so that they can build a relationship and sell their products.
I mean, you said that before, haven't you?
No, actually not exactly that way. It changes every time, but that is basically what I do.
Okay, so tell me, describe to me your ideal customer. Who are the people that you work with?
Someone I can learn from. I love learning. So anyone in, especially leadership, that is something that just kind of floats my boat. I work with leaders to tell either their personal journey, which means I get to learn from that directly, or I help them tell what they teach other people. And it's pixelating a bit on my end.
Yeah, it's okay. You're slowing down, but I can still hear you really well.
Okay, well, we'll go then. But I really, so to me, it's an expert who values the expertise of the people they're working with. Yeah. That is my absolute favorite client all the way around.
Okay, so I'm really curious. I'm always curious regarding every business owner. How do you find your customers? How do people actually end up finding you?
Strangely enough, most of them are referrals. I'm a ghostwriter, so no one knows that I work with other people, but they tell other people that they work with me. So that's fun. I've had a few people find me on LinkedIn, and a few people have found me through my website, but probably 90% of my business and most of my bigger projects are through referrals.
So you're not big into advertising or Facebook,
No.
Google ads. It's all word of mouth.
Yes, I do interact in some Facebook groups, but most of that is just helping other writers get started. So that's a whole different little side thing I do. I really enjoy doing that. A lot of them have no clue what ghostwriting is, so I help educate on that.
All right. So tell me why you think someone should share their story. What is the benefit of someone either writing a book? Because you know the whole thing about books, having been through it with my wife, ourselves, it is a very long process, unless you probably have, like you, a lot of processes in place that will make it a lot easier. But for the beginner, it's a long process. So why should someone have a story and publish that in a book?
It's powerful. It's probably the best way to connect with your audience, and it absolutely establishes your expertise in whatever you're talking about. If you put it in a book, people think you know it hands down, and that's wonderful for any business or any not-for-profit. They can publish about what they do, and it becomes solid whenever you publish it. It is a long process. Even for me, most books take 6 months. So it's not a short thing.
And that is 6 months from the beginning till the end.
Yeah, that includes all of the research, all of the writing, and all of the review process for me. If it's a huge book, it can take longer, but 6 months is average.
So as I hear you, and I'm thinking about myself, I mean, I'm an expert in something that is called solution-focused brief therapy, and specifically working with families at risk of breakdown, and then training social workers to work in that specific method. And over the last 2 years, I've started writing my book, or I've kind of finished writing the book. But so I know how long the process is, but can you take me through the process? Let's say if someone comes to you as a customer, they arrive at your place, what are the steps that you take someone through? Because I would be worried that you do not get my voice.
Right.
So I would love to know a little bit more about what you do, which techniques and tricks and stuff like that you do, that you get the voice of the author, the voice of the expert into that story.
And that's something, if anyone's going to work with a ghostwriter, you definitely need to make sure that they can write in your voice. A lot of people call themselves ghostwriters, but they don't specialize in voice. The first thing I do is have a call with the potential client. So we would have a call, we would talk about your project. I would see whether or not it's a good fit. Not every project is. So if I didn't think I could adequately portray what you're trying to say, then I would either recommend you to someone else or just say I'm not a good fit. The next step then, once we've gone through the proposal, we've gone through the contract, everything's agreed on, I provide you with a very strict set of deadlines for you and for me, because that's the only way to keep it on process. And that might include interviews with you. If you've done a podcast like this, I can listen to episodes of that and get your voice in my head. If you've done public speaking, if you have courses that you've recorded, if you've done blog writing already, I read and I just go through that for forever. And then we'll either do a series of interviews or you send me the source material for the actual book. I take that, condense it into a very detailed outline. You either approve or revise that, and then we go right into the writing phase after that. And even during the writing, it's back and forth. Ghostwriting is not a handoff process, sorry. You're still really involved. So I have you review and approve each chapter as I go. And of course, the further we get into it, the less revision there is, because I hit that stride. And then by the time we're done, it's done.
So be honest with me, entrepreneurs and experts in their field, they're busy people.
They are.
How well do they keep to the timetable that you give them? I can picture that you send them a chapter and that you have to chase them for them to finally come back with the feedback.
You know what? I will chase them at first until they get used to the process. After that, I don't. If they get busy, I will send them reminders, and I set those up to do it automatically. If my client causes the schedule to go kind of off kilter, they have a deadline of so long before the project goes dormant. And I've had one project, I think, ever go dormant, and then they pay an extra fee to start that back up. That keeps people on track. They don't want to pay extra money.
I like that. I like that. That's a very clever little, anyone listening, I think that's a good one. Put that little bit of extra fee in if people have to start again, which keeps them motivated because no one wants to spend more. So out of all the, I think what I saw on your website that was really funny, that it ended with a few thousand cups of coffee, but it told you how many people you've helped already, so how many customers, and then I think that must have been a funny joke, lots of coffee drinking to keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. So out of all your customers, which has been, I think on the website about 265 or something, or 300 or something. Yeah, something.
A lot. I think I haven't updated that in about 2 years.
But hundreds of people that you've helped. Tell me a story, if you remember one, that a project that you absolutely loved working on.
Well, my last year, so all of the pandemic craziness, everyone's stir crazy and at home. I have a client that I've done several nonfiction books for and loved them. And he came to me and said that he wanted to write a fiction book. And fiction's not my specialty, but he wanted to work with me. It was terrifying. It was a completely different process. I had to learn it as I went, but I absolutely loved it. By the way, if you hear or you interview a fiction writer and they tell you that their characters take control, they totally do. They have a life of their own. But we finished that. It was my first fiction book, and he took it to his agent. His agent immediately took it to a publisher. They were in talks. And even while that was happening, the book was optioned for Hollywood. So that was exciting. My first fiction book was optioned for Hollywood. I don't know if I'll ever do another fiction book, but it was definitely, and we had to do that really quickly because they wanted to see a copy of it quickly. Yeah. But it was awesome. But I love that. I guess my other favorite one would probably have been a nonfiction book. And it was a specific leadership style that the gentleman was teaching on. And it was countercultural. And it took me completely out of my comfort zone because I've written about leadership for years and I had to throw most of that out of the window. So anything like that I'm learning new stuff or it just takes me out of my comfort zone. That's what I really enjoy writing about.
Wow. So what I was thinking of, because other than ghostwriting, that's the question that came up. Sorry, I had a question, I lost it, and it came back. Thankfully, it came back. It's a lengthy process, like you said. It could take up to 6 months. So have you developed processes or started hiring people or anything like that for parts of the processes to increase the volume of people that you can help? I mean, what is your thought process around that?
Not on writing books. I do have processes. I have checklists. I have templates that I've created that I use, and I occasionally share those with other people. So especially if they're getting started, I follow that process pretty strictly. Even the chapter outlines, it's templates that let me just go step by step. Makes it a lot easier, especially on a long project like that. I'm very strict about, I will hire a VA when I need them. To put all of the deadlines and due dates in my calendar, to send reminders. That's very helpful. The administrative stuff behind the scenes is what gets tricky. And if I have smaller projects, I will sometimes bring in other writers to help me, but I review everything before I send it back because ultimately I'm the one that was hired to do it. So
yeah, because I saw on your website that you also do social media, as far as I understand, and you do coaching and consulting.
Yes.
So is that all you, or are you also outsourcing things here and there get people to help you with things?
Yeah, I used to do all of the social. I don't anymore. That's a very time consuming process, and it's something that the younglings love to learn. So I will walk them through that process and then monitor them and get them going. I've sent several people out to start their own social media business. So that's wonderful when you can train people up. Coaching, yes, that's me one-on-one. I do a very specific style of writing coaching called collaborative coaching. I don't know if anyone else does it. And if you wanted to write about your process that you teach to the social workers, we would actually, you can write it up ahead of time and then we sit down and go through it together. Or if you're really stuck with a part of it, we sit down and write it together. So I work with you one-on-one, kind of at a concierge level service. To help you get through that. And it's very, very effective. I love doing that. And then the consulting is I help businesses find their brand voice, clearly define it, make sure that all of their content marketing is following where they need it to go. A lot of people just think they can cobble it together, and that doesn't work. So I help people develop processes so that they can then take it over.
And I assume that your business is all taking place online?
Yes, I do almost all of it like this, pretty much. I have traveled occasionally for consulting.
Have you ever thought or done in the past, like when we were still allowed to be together, that like workshops for writers and stuff like that?
I would love to do that. Actually, I've been thinking about doing it even remotely until we can travel again. I love that. I think it helps the people as they're writing to realize other people are where they are and that they need to grow. And sometimes you just need a different location, and it spurs creativity.
I mean, for the last 10 years, I've trained social workers and I've always met them face to face. And in the last 1.5 years, it's been a lot of online training. And I just miss the room, the people. So yeah, I can relate to that. But slightly different question, maybe a bit of a deep question, but Treasa, what is your bigger why in life? I mean, why does Treasa walk around planet Earth? You know, I know it's a deep question, but if you had to ask yourself, what is your why, but also in your business, why do you do what you do? What's your bigger why?
I honestly love connecting with people, and I really want to serve others. I mean, that's really the keystone of everything I do. I partner with people to help them produce whatever it is they want to produce in a way that is ethical. That's big for me. And also in a way that is sincere. You know, a lot of people use the word transparent. I don't like it. I prefer sincerity. And so being sincere and connecting, those are my two big whys, especially connecting. I love connecting with people.
Talk about connecting. I think you and I got connected through the SPI community, didn't we? And I don't know how long you've been a member for, but how has it been, or has it been, and if so, how? Has it been beneficial for you to be part of that community?
I've learned a lot. I've been able to serve others. So I've been able to connect with some people to do that, which is great. And I hadn't really looked at doing the podcast thing until I got in there, other than I knew I wanted to start my own, and I was dragging my feet, because isn't that the way it is? You do something for clients all the time, but you just can't do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, why don't I just appear on some podcasts and see how that goes? And I'm loving it. So it's giving me the confidence I need. That the community is wonderful. Great people. I've met a lot of people. And of course, you learn great things from Pat all the time. So
all the time. Absolutely. So did you say that you've been on other people's podcasts? Have you started your own podcast?
I'm in the process. So I actually have started lining people up to interview. I'm excited about it.
I think even if you look at all your past customers, I mean, if you would still have those connections, or at least their contact details, man, it's going to be reasonably simple to fill your episodes with all their stories. Man, what a powerful thing to do that would be. And it's another way of telling your story, isn't it?
Yes.
Through the podcast. So what does Treasa do to recharge your battery? Because I can picture, I'm getting the feeling that this whole writing thing gives you energy.
It does.
Yeah, I can see that from your face. I mean, when you talk about it, there's just a lot of energy there. But when you do hit that, moment where your battery is a bit empty, what is it that you do to recharge your battery in
Well, it's
life?
going to sound cliche, but I read. I
Ah,
do. I read constantly, but I also have standard poodles, and I love them. They are not frou-frou dogs. They are athletic and intelligent, and they keep me on my toes. So I spend a lot of time with them, and I love it. So,
you said
and
poodles, so I assume there's more than one. Is it 2 or more?
4.
4. Whoa. And
I live in a tiny house. Did I mention that?
this office that you're in right now, that must be outside the house, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I live out in the middle of the country. We have no internet, no cell signal. Well, the internet is satellite internet and it sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I come to town to work and have the good internet, and it's peaceful and quiet here, and it's
Cool.
great.
I love dogs. Absolutely. I think it's the best company that you can imagine. Dogs.
Yes. And then I have a cat that rules me, because of course that's what cats do. But yeah.
The cat rules you, not the dogs, but rules
Right.
you. Yeah.
The
Okay.
dogs just adore me. I love that. I'm just adored every day when I get home.
I can imagine. So my last sort of question to you is, what's the future? You've been doing this for 15 years, sort of this process. Have you still got dreams? Have you got vision, ideas for, where you would like to take your business?
Yes, and I'm in the process of doing that now. I want to keep ghostwriting. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to be incredibly selective about my clients,
Yeah.
but my next step is to start training other people to do what I do. A lot of people just want to, they have no clue where to start.
Yeah.
Ghostwriting is kind of ambiguous. There's a lot of stuff out there about it, and very little of it's accurate. So I would love to train up people to be ghostwriters, and even to just help others with writing.
So are you talking about like a ghostwriter school or a ghostwriter's membership, or
I'm starting a membership. It'll launch in November. And then from there, if they want courses, I'll develop courses. So I'm going to let the community kind of govern what they need, so that, I could choose things all day long, but every single time, and this is one thing coaching has taught me, every single time I think I know what a client actually needs, they don't. It's something completely different. One of my first clients that came to me, I was, telling him, so when you're doing this, you really need to look at the impact of, and he's like, I really just need you to start with basic grammar, so don't anticipate what you think your customers need, actually ask them. And that's what I'm going to do.
Have you thought about yet, I don't know how far you are in the process, but are within the membership, is lots of the training video, or is it written training? Is it, what does it look like inside, or what is it going to look like inside the training?
I'll do short little videos that'll just be one-offs, but most of it will be group coaching sessions, and we'll do those every other week. So they'll actually get access to me. They can ask questions. I'll do live trainings, and then we'll do Q&A sessions every time. Yeah. And then within the membership itself, I will provide templates that I use and various documents that can help them. I'll provide resources or links to resources that I use all the time. And I just want to share with them what works for me, and then they get to adapt that.
Well, the beautiful thing is you have done this for 15 years. So there is a track record. Sometimes you see people go down the path of starting to teach other people, and they've only been in it themselves for a year or so. Yes, but you've got such a track record. So it's a very good position to start from. So and exciting, starting new revenue streams and stuff like that. So it's really, really cool. If anyone is listening, because if you have a link at some point, or the information I assume will be on your website. So when this will be published, I will check with you if the membership is live, and I will put something in the show notes. But anyone listening that either thinks, man, I either need a ghostwriter because I have a book inside of me, or I want to learn, to train to become a ghostwriter myself, remind the listeners again, where can they go to connect with you and to learn more about you?
If they would like to work with me for writing coaching or hire me as a ghostwriter, they can go to edmondwriting.com. That's EDMOND writing.com. If they would like to learn more about writing themselves or just be inspired in some way because they're in a writing journey, I'm starting a website, The Writing Mindset, and that'll be the name of my podcast as well. So thewritingmindset.com, and that is where the ghostwriting membership will be, as well as any other courses I release.
Wow, you've got it all sorted. Fantastic. That's really good. The writing mindset. Did you say that?
Yes, The Writing Mindset.
D. So the word D is in front of that. We'll put that all in the show notes. Treasa, as we're talking, is there anything that you say, Eric, I wish you would have asked me that, or I really wanted to share this part? Is there anything that you can think of? Have I missed something?
I think you should write a book. I think you should write a book about the process that you teach to social workers so that everyone who doesn't have access to you can access that. That's one of those things. But yeah, I just want to encourage people, if you think you have a book to write, do it. If you are coaching people or a leadership expert or anything like that, even if you're just doing public speaking, take what you're already sharing with people and turn it into a book, and you will be surprised at how your business takes off. It'll bring in clients, it'll bring in a whole new audience that you never knew was out there.
Man, again, I can hear the passion in your voice. That's beautiful. And on that note, I want to thank you for your passion, for your energy, for your knowledge, and thank you for meeting up with me and to talk, and for anyone that listens to learn from you. And I do hope that anyone that is listening, that you will reach out to Treasa if you're in need of a ghostwriter, or if you are in need of any of her other services. Treasa, I wish you a really good day. And I almost want to say hello to your dogs and your cat, as an animal lover. But and I look forward to connect and seeing you in the SPI community.
Well, I look forward to it too. And thank you again for inviting me onto your podcast.
You're very welcome. Take care.
Thank you.